ready to ride.
The internet sensation, Charleston White. Let me start with Charleston White for a second, because this is my first time talking about Charleston White on a channel. You know what? Let me take a step backwards first for the people that might be watching this that aren't aware who Charleston White is. It's almost not easy to describe him, because at one point you can call him an activist. At another point you can call him a troll. At another point you can call him a realist. There's just so many things that he says that is just outlandish. He's very disrespectful at times. He said F some of your favorite deceased rappers in the world, for example, Nipsey Hussle, right? He said some very disrespectful things in his direction. Same thing to King Von and whatnot. But it's wild because his brain has these ways of justifying these comments, whether he's in troll mode or he's being serious, because he admits to both. Sometimes he's in this activist mode and there's things that he says where it's like, yo, that's actually good advice, or yo, he's really shedding light on something that we're not really paying attention to, or he's really bringing about a perspective that, if you're being real, we have to incorporate into the way that we're looking at some of our situations as a culture. But on the flip side, he calls himself a character. He says he trolls. He says he lies. And there's a lot of things that he says that we could just be like, nah, that's BS. He's reaching, or he's just talking sideways at this moment. So my overall description of who Charleston White is, he's a black man that's on the internet, and he's speaking against the hip hop culture and rappers heavily. He has a lot of unpopular opinions about black hip hop culture, about gangs, about people that have died, about government. He's very abrasive. He's bold in the things that he says, but then again, sometimes it comes off as him not being bold, just his attempts at being a shock jock. And he definitely has shock jock qualities. He seems like he'll say anything to get a reaction. He'll say the most disrespectful things, whether they're based in reality or truth or not. And that's the catch with him, because there's so many things that he says that's based in truth or based in reality. He says a lot of good things and he says a lot of fuck shit. So for me personally, I've always stood in the middle with Charleston White. I took him as entertainment, and at the same time, I might grab a gem here and there and appreciate some of his perspectives. But man, this recent one here is going to have people continue to move in the opposite direction from Charleston White, because he's undeniable. So that's why I say people's going to move in the opposite direction, because he's obviously got millions and millions, maybe billions at this point, of views across all these different YouTube channels and YouTube videos and social media platforms. He might be over 1 billion views at this point. You know, I feel like he's taking the place of, you know, the Boscos of the world, or almost the Whack 100s of the world. You even have back and forth with Whack 100. These are people that talk a lot on the internet, that just make it entertaining to discuss wild topics. You know, you go over to Whack 100 on Clubhouse and he's talking about, once again, I'll use Nipsey Hussle as an example, maybe some tapes that he got of Nipsey Hussle in a compromised situation. You go to Bosco and he'll be talking about some wild stuff and, you know, going at people and arguing and fussing with certain people too. Who's another one? You got Crip Mac. You know, Crip Mac has been an entertaining guy for the better part of at least the last year to a lot of people. People book him and interview him. He's been on platforms like No Jumper. And even the platforms themselves, you got to remember, these are big platforms that somebody like Charleston White has been on. I think he's been on Vlad. I think he's on Say Cheese. I was talking with Math the other week. I was like, yo, get Charleston White on your platform. There was a moment where I was telling myself, when I start booking people to do virtual interviews with me, I was interested in possibly booking Charleston White too. I question myself on that right now, because, man, he don't make it easy on the ears sometimes with the things that he says and the things that he does. But here's a recent thing with T.I. So at a high level, this is how this all came about. T.I.'s son, King, we've seen him on the internet get into a bunch of random stuff here and there. I know that happens a lot. We can easily stereotype somebody or write them off from seeing one video of them. And I don't want to be that person. But in general, on the internet, T.I.'s son is coming off a little bit like a problem child. Every time he's in the headlines, it's for something that you look at a kid and be like, yo, he's getting in trouble again, or maybe he's acting out because his father is T.I. or whatever. And that's becoming the perception of T.I.'s son. So with him having that perception on the internet, here comes the Charleston White. Charleston White is going to be critical of him. He's going to talk down on him. He's going to speak about him. He's going to call him out, all types of stuff. And I think T.I. jumped into it for a second, as he should. This is his son. And T.I. is obviously always on social media, always on the internet. He's always addressing topics on his own social media. He's always doing interviews. He's in and out of controversy himself. T.I. is an outspoken person. So you would expect to hear from him if his son is getting, shots thrown at him from one of the biggest people on the internet right now that's talking about people. Charleston White. So T.I. starts responding to Charleston White. That within itself could be like bait, line, hook, and sinker for somebody like Charleston White. Like, oh, got him. You know what I'm saying? But he starts responding. There's even a leaked phone call that Charleston White put out where T.I. is speaking to the manager and he's asking questions like, I'm trying to understand why somebody the age of Charleston White would be coming at somebody the age of my son. And then we see another response start to go up from Charleston White. Now, I'm going to paraphrase a little bit. In Charleston White's response, he goes off of like, I wish King would run down on me, because I think there was another response by King, T.I.'s son, going back at Charleston White. And he's like, I wish King or T.I.'s son run up on me. I'll shoot him in the throat, just like I Trayvon Martin him. He says something along that line with those words. And it's just like, wow. So number one, you're putting Trayvon Martin's name in a context that's very, very ugly. Number two, you're talking about shooting a child in the throat, shooting a child, period. Now, I get it. Charleston White's base for that is going to be, I was talking about self-defense because I said the words, if he runs up on me. And that's why he uses the example of Trayvon Martin, I guess, because you're trying to give an example of an older man and a child in some type of confrontation. I got to assume for any father, if you hear another man threatening your son and saying the words, shoot him in the throat or shoot him, period, whether you're responding and talking about self-defense or not, something like that will put you in jail immediately. Immediately. Meaning you see red. You threaten my son, you see red. And I don't think that any of us believe that T.I. is soft. I don't think that any of us think that T.I. is not going to move for his people or for his family. But this is social media. It started on social media. T.I. involved himself on social media. There's leaked phone calls now. What is T.I. going to do? You think T.I. can now walk up to Charleston White in private and handle his business? You think T.I. could hypothetically send somebody at Charleston White and it not be traced to him almost immediately? You guys have just created a real big social media beef. And that's actually beneficial to Charleston White because he's pro-police. He's like, I'll call the cops for anything. If you threaten me, if you scare me, I'm calling the cops. I go to clubs now with cops. I don't know how in tune y'all are. I don't want to get into all that right now, but he's super, super pro-police. He's super, super pro-civilian. So having that position now on social media, that does tie T.I.'s hands if he even wanted to do something. I know some people will put that down and say Charleston White is a troll. Charleston White is a character. He's a shock jock. He's talking mess. And even though as a father, I probably see red for hearing anything like that with my son involved, I'm still not going to get tricked off the streets over something like that. I'm just going to stay away from this guy and be over here. But I don't think T.I. was able to put it down. So his response after hearing that is an outcry to the public. He asked the public to cancel Charleston White. Then you see further videos with T.I. complaining that he's upset that people that he deemed friends and family or people that he's came to the defense of or he's come to help before in the past, he doesn't see anybody reacting over the fact that he feels his son was just threatened by this man, Charleston White. He's like, everybody is zip tied right now. What's going on? He feels let down. So that leads me to another point.